Okay, we're on.
Indeed. Well,
Ready?
thank you. Rockin' film.
Thanks.
It was so fun. And a departure for you.
It was,
Was
yeah.
that fun?
It was a lot of fun. I really had a great time doing it, and it was really great to get to work with these guys who were so sweet and so funny, and it was great. I would do it again in a second.
Whee! What about, I mean, the whole premise of the film, we know that we're going to go in and probably learn a lesson when we go in and we come out, and we have learned a lesson, which is great. How did you know that this was going to not be like, you must look at inner beauty, blah, blah. You know, it's not too...
Right. Well, I think it would sort of, you know, if the film got too didactic, it kind of doesn't work well with like broad comedy and humor. So I think, you know, I think the Farrelly brothers are very good at kind of walking a fine line in a lot of ways. And, you know, in this particular film, making something really funny and having a very nice message and a very sweet kind of romantic essence to the film without it going too far in any direction.
Well, you must have, did you ever talk on set a lot about this sort of the beauty myth? Because, I mean, I was trying to think last night, almost every country has some thing
Right.
or aspect of a person that they find lovely, whether or not it's different. What do you think of it?
Well, you know, I think it's very interesting how sociologically we develop these ideals, and that, you know, it shifts so much throughout time and throughout cultures. And I don't know why we do. I mean, I feel like it has to do with evolution, and, you know, that we need to sort of find these attributes to pin things on and then to sort of go for them. But, you know, it just seems kind of unnecessary and sort of silly. But, you know, we all do it in whatever form throughout the world. So, I don't know, it's kind of a difficult situation.
It's a stinker. A downright stinker. And what about yourself? I mean, you were cast not only for your amazing acting ability, but for your beauty. And it must be sometimes, like, I don't know, do you panic about it sometimes? Is it an object of concern?
It is, you know, because I'm not 22 years old anymore, and if you're gonna be wearing little short shorts, I mean, you know, it's like I have to work out all the time, and, you know, it's like if you're so scrutinized, it leads to kind of general discomfort about the way you look and the way you feel about yourself. So,
Yeah. Well, also, you work in an industry that kind of commands that's kind of the first stepping stone, and then we move on to, if you can act, that's a great bonus.
right.
And I
Right.
mean, that must be frustrating for you.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel that this is actually the first time that I feel like I was sort of cast, you know, as a kind of dream girl, you know, so I felt like it was a lot of pressure, and I certainly don't feel that way in real life, so that was a kind of hurdle for me to get over.
You don't float around and say, I'm the prettiest.
Far from it, far from it.
And what about, I mean, you must be frustrated, like the whole Hollywood thing being so, everything you do is under a magnifying glass. Does that, I mean, what do you think about that whole thing, having your love life, what you wire when you walk down the street?
Right. You know, I really disengaged from that whole part of my life. I really, I don't read any of that stuff, and I don't really watch TV. So I'm sort of disconnected with the culture in that way. I mean, I will read like women's magazines and stuff like that. If I see myself in them, you know, I just sort of check it out and flip past it. But I don't really engage in that at all. I try and just pretend that I'm two separate people.
And finally, what would, say it's, I don't know, 20 years down the road and a gazillion people have seen this film, what do you hope ultimately that you and the audiences take away from this experience?
Well, I think that, you know, people will walk away from the film, you know, having laughed really hard and having, you know, seen something very sweet about focusing on what people are internally as opposed to externally.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
It was a lovely
you.
film. It's nice
Thanks
to meet
a
you.
lot. Nice to meet you too.